Even though the popular idea about wedding vendors, at least in Abuja anyway, seems to be that we are all money motivated and we're going to do anything for the naira, you will find that a lot of us, well, not me anyway, at least not yet, but I've met some colleagues who have interests in other sectors that are charity related. There are people who are worried about the state of our children in schools, children in the rural areas, whether families have access to clean drinking water, primary health care, and there's even a DJ that I know who is interested in promoting education. So you'll find that even though the stereotype seems to be that we are all money motivated, you find that we are well rounded individuals and we're not just concerned with our wallets, but we're also concerned about the well being of other people in society. Now, the skills and the principles and the tactics that we discuss on this podcast are also relevant for those of you who have charities. In fact, I tell people keep your charity alive by learning how to sell. Initially, when I say that, people don't see the connections readily. But if you think about it, an NGO or a charity is also a business. For those of you who have legal degrees or you did some business studies because you happen to study, legal studies. So let's say you did some legal studies because you studied a business administration course or maybe an accounting course back when you were in university. You remember that in the part of the course where they talk about NGOs or charities, you discuss that under company law. And that is because an NGO or a charity, or whatever it is that you want to call it, a company that is governed by, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, so whatever you want to call it, NGO charities, social charter holders, whatever they are, the bottom line is they are all businesses. They are just businesses that you can't take dividends from. And the reason why you don't take dividends from them, or the law won't allow you to take dividends from them, is because when you set these things up, you tell the whole world and you tell the government that you are setting these things up to take care of other things and other people. So if you have a charity that is concerned about alleviating malaria or providing access to medication in refugee camps in Abuja, and yes, there's a wedding vendor that I have worked with who that is her thing. She provides, she provides, what's it called? Access to market and skills acquisition for women in the IDP camps. And then some of her partners, who they work with from time to time, are the ones who are interested in access to healthcare for people who live in those conditions. So when you set up that charity, or that business that you can't take dividends from, the law won't allow you to take dividends because in the beginning you said you want to take care of women who live in refugee camps and their children who don't have access to healthcare and medication. So if you take funds from people and then you use that to build your wedding business, then the authorities can come after you because what you're doing is fraudulent. But bottom line is these things are businesses and we have to treat them as such. So sales skills are necessary if you're running an NGO because you have to attract funding and you have to attract finance. Now you will find commercially minded organizations who get these fundings by selling goods and services. But even if you don't sell goods and services where you have to go around cap in hand and beg people for money, you still have to attract funding and get finance one way or another. And sales skills are concerned with persuasion. And of course, you need to be persuasive if you're going to get people to part with their hard-earned money so that you can finance your activities in the refugee camps or digging boreholes in those rural communities all over Abuja. Sales skills are also necessary for stakeholder relations. once people give you, once people hand over their purse strings to you, they become stakeholders. You have to keep in touch with them from time to time. And your stakeholders also include government regulatory agencies, um, maybe other CSOs, other NGOs, religious organizations. Um, the list can go on and on. So you need good sales and communication skills to keep in touch with your stakeholders. Stakeholder relations and donor relations are really important because these are ways that you get um, continued buy-in and continued support, and to get your donors to keep on giving over the course of a lifetime. Because if somebody drops 1 million now, that'll be good and that'll be fine, but over the long run, it probably won't be of much help if that is all you get from the donor. But then again, there might be somebody who drops only 200,000 naira, for instance, but does so repeatedly every year for the next 20 years. That kind of a donor might be of more help than the person who just comes and drops 1M and then is off. And so all these skills that we're talking about so far, stakeholder relations, donor relations, these are all things that can be enhanced when you build your sales skills and your communication skills. Now, for some of you in running your NGOs, like Brides and Babies, for instance, I think they get clothes and supplies and things like that from businesses and other individuals that they can use to help children in need around the FCT. I don't know if they have programs for other states of the Federation. So, for folks like that are getting supplies from different vendors or individuals, you also need good sales skills for inventory management and for supply management and vendor management. And finally, you're also going to need good sales and communication skills and persuasion skills to find good staffing and to find adequate volunteer support. The volunteers are going to work for free, so you have to be really persuasive and have good sales skills to figure out what it is that they want out of the opportunity in the first place, so that you can get them to be trusted volunteers for you. And then, of course, NGOs don't pay that good, at least in Abuja anyway, except if you're looking at the multinational NGOs that have been able to secure funding from the World Health Organization and those sorts of bodies. There's this NGO, not wedding related, I think it's called Caritas also. And I think Caritas is a Catholic, was affiliated to some Catholic organizations, and so they're able to pay their employees living wage. So, except if you're someone who has been hooked up to organizations like the WHO, Caritas, and all the others, you're probably not going to pay your staff living wages in Abuja. And so, you're also going to need good sales skills to be able to get them to stick around for a while or for the long haul. I'm not going to go into details about how sales skills apply in each of these scenarios, whether it is attracting finance and funding, stakeholder relations, donor relations, vendor management. I'm not going to go into all that detail because that would go beyond the 10 to 15 minutes that I like to keep the podcast at. But I am working on some material that I'm going to share with another tech hub in Abuja that is devoted to these sorts of things. They are much more interested in looking to people who want to run NGOs and social enterprise. So I'm currently working on some material that we can share with those folks, just so that people who are in that space, exclusively in that space, in the NGO space, will be able to learn some of the skills that we business owners and self-employed people use to grow our profits, so that they can also use that to grow their funding base and also to make it easier for them to run their NGOs. So that's it pretty much for today. If you happen to be one of those wedding vendors in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, wherever it is that you are, and you have a charity that you run on the side because you're worried about all these other sectors that we've spoken about, keep on at it, and may God reward you. You are doing God's work. But also remember that there are transferable skills that you get from running your wedding business that apply directly to the NGO. And that includes skills that you build around sales, selling, marketing, and persuading. So to keep your charity alive, learn how to sell. Thank you very much for listening to Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer, Tavishima Ayede. I will catch you guys at the next recording.